Can I make a video game by doing exactly what my Magic 8 Ball tells me to do? The rules of this challenge are simple. I'm going to come up with a game idea, and while making it, my Magic 8 Ball must agree with everything I do. And if it doesn't, things have to change. And I have to do it all in only 6 hours. The game I want to make is a 2D rhythm game, played on a grid, where there are a bunch of bots that move on beat to a song. But sometimes they make little mistakes. If you catch a bot making a mistake, you just destroy the tile he's on, prompting him to fall into oblivion. After it ends, you'll get a letter grade based on your performance. I think all this is fairly doable in 6 hours, and again, that's the game I think I'm gonna make. But the 8 Ball is gonna have some very different ideas. Before I even created the Unity project, I had to double check with the 8 Ball to make sure that a 2D game would be okay. And thankfully, it agreed with me. The 8 Ball also agrees that the grid is the best place to start working on the game. And boom! We now have a grid. And that only took about 56 minutes. Where did all the time go? Now, you'd think after this little revelation, past Will over there would start to hustle. But no, he just kept taking his sweet time. So now that the grid is all done, I think it's time to start populating it with some bots. And just to be clear, you're okay with me doing this, right? It is certain. Awesome. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the 8 Ball has been very compliant recently. And I think there's only one explanation for that. It's like hardcore simping for me. See? Watch this. Magic 8 Ball. The player will oversee all of these bots and make sure they move on beat, right? My reply is no. I think it heard me. Big wrench number 1 has just been thrown into my plans. And you know what they say, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a metaphorical wrench thrown into your hypothetical plans by an inanimate object. So back to the drawing board for a minute. Instead of having the player be the bot's supreme musical overlord, the player will now be just like the bots. Thankfully, the 8 Ball was on board with this plan. But before I got to coding, I just had one more question. Because the player will be moving around, I need some way of getting input. And because it will be faster, I'm planning on using the old input system. So Magic 8 Ball, can you let me do that? No. Wrench number 2 has just been yeeted my way. But this one doesn't seem too bad. And the keyword in that last sentence was seem. Over time, the new input system has grown on me a lot. But for something like this, I feel like the new input system is a bit overkill. And without a doubt, it will take longer. Because first, we have to go into our settings and change from the old input system to the new input system. Then you have to go right-click, create, and then find the input action section. Wait, where is it? Could have sworn it was here. Okay, viewer, can you help Will find the input action section? Did you find it? No? Well, how long did you spend trying to look for it? Because I spent 15 minutes trying to figure out Unity's sadistic Where's Waldo puzzle. I eventually just threw in the towel and Googled where to find it, and drumroll please, the input action section is not here at all. I genuinely thought I was experiencing a perception -1 moment, but it turns out I was actually experiencing an intelligence -1 moment. Because first, I had to actually go into the package manager and install the input system package. And you want to know the funniest part? I've done this plenty of times in the past. No, it's not funny. I'm losing my mind over here, and it's all this guy's fault. Ah, there it is. And not too long after that, I had the player moving from tile to tile. The next thing the 8 Ball wants me to do is to make removable tiles. So I did that. Oh, and the 8 Ball would also prefer if the player could accidentally fall into these holes and also off the map. And this wasn't too bad to make. Instead of being productive and have me work on the bots, the 8 Ball next wanted me to make some artwork, which just seems like a great use of our time. The 8 Ball agrees with me though that the bots and the player should be musical notes. So I went into Asperite and whipped up 9 of them. Once those were all done, I brought them back into Unity and set it up that the player spawns in with a random note and a random color assigned to them. After that was over, the magic procrastination ball allowed me to finally start working on the bots. I started by making them spawn in just like the player, and it was perfectly fine to implement, but there was just one tiny oversight that I may or may not be noticing right now while writing the script for this video. Let's play Where's Waldo one more time to try to find where the player is. Go on, place your bets. Which one of these do you think the player is? If you chose this one, congratulations, because you're actually wrong. The player is actually this one. But you see how that could be a tiny problem? And if you don't think it's actually that big of a problem, just wait until you accidentally spawn on one of the edges. Yeah. These bots aren't really good right now because all they do is kind of stand around. So for testing purposes right now, I just have them randomly choosing a neighboring spot to move to every 3 seconds. The bots are working as best as they can right now, so I should probably ask the 8-ball what I should be working on next. It doesn't want me to start working on the music, and it also doesn't want me to make the bots make their little mistakes now, but rather spend my incredibly limited time making UI. A lot of clarifying UI choices later, the 8-ball and I created these very basic UI slides. And we decided the name of the game should be Beat or Get Beat, because it's a music game where the player moves on beat. And speaking of beats, that's what we're gonna work on next. Don't worry, I'm not going rogue, the 8-ball let me. And quick time check, we only have an hour left. After loading up Reaper, I made 5 drum beats for each difficulty level of the game. So here's the easy one. Now here is the very hard one. Once I got these into Unity, I got the bots moving on beat. I did only implement this with the very easy song because it kind of takes a while and we don't have a while. And apparently, I don't know how many hours are in 6 hours because I thought I'd be finished up before I went to work, but I have to go to work now and there are 30 minutes left on my timer. So I'm just gonna finish up when I get home. So it turns out I am in way over my head. I have to make the enemies make mistakes, have to drop the tiles from out from under them, make the tiles drop from out from under the player when he makes a mistake, implement all the other beats, and probably a bunch of other stuff that I can't think of right now, in only 30 minutes. I don't know if this is considered cheating, and frankly I don't even care, but I spent a bit of time before starting the timer, planning out everything I needed for the rest of this game. Alright, 30 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go! The first thing I needed to make was the enemies making mistakes. The way I did this was by utilizing normal distributions. All I had to do was copy and paste this class I made in for situations just like this, and bada bing bada boom, the enemies were slightly off sync. And you can learn how to add variation like that super easily into your games, just by watching this tutorial I made. And it's very well made, and Will, stop self-promoting. You only have 23 minutes left. Wow, it only took 7 minutes to implement that technique? That tutorial must be really good. Stop it! Jeez, okay. Now we need to detect when the bots move too much offbeat. So we need a class to make sure that all the musical notes are being good little musical notes. If I was, sane, I probably would have called it something like the conductor, or something like that. But my brain immediately fixated on the non-player, all-seeing, and fate-determining aspects and decided to call it God. The 8-ball also agreed on this one, by the way. Now, God will have something that I like to call the safe list, which allows entries in a little bit before and a little bit after the beat actually happens. When a bot moves, if the safe list is accepting entries, it will be added to the safe list. After the safe list closes, anybody who's not on the list is eliminated. And if anybody moves when the safe list isn't accepting entries, they are also eliminated. And right now, I am definitely not on this challenges safe list because time's up. I asked the 8-ball if I should finish up this game or make a part 2, but it said no. I will overrule it if you guys really like the video, but I also have something else I might do with this game in the future. I'm not gonna say what it is because I'm still trying to iron out some details. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you obviously liked it. And don't lie to me, I know you liked it. So why not subscribe? And if you're on the fence, why don't you check out some of these other videos that I made? If you want to know more about that normal distribution technique I used to make the enemies make mistakes, click right here. And if you want to see how I made chess better, click down here. Thanks again. See you soon.